What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here with Dilly Vanilli. We are here to break down, preview, and predict the Seattle Seahawks 2019 NFL season. Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, they're back at it in 2019. And the key stat that every Seahawks fan is going to post below in the comment section is that Russell Wilson has never had a losing season. Never had a losing season. This is a different year for the Seahawks. I think some people are high on them. Some people believe they'll make the playoffs once again just because of the core and the foundation that is there. Defensively, Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. And then offensively, Russell Wilson, the running game. And then, of course, Pete Carroll at head coach. This is intriguing for me because obviously they lost Frank Clark. They've lost a lot of their Legion of Boom over the past couple of years. It's been a total transformation for this football team, whether it's been Richard Sherman, now Earl Thomas leaving, or Cam Chancellor, Michael Bennett leaving 2 seasons ago. And then offensively, Doug Baldwin retiring. So it's a way different team. And honestly, I look at it as a transition year for the Seahawks, and that might come as a negative connotation, but it is what it is. Dilly Vanilli, are you high on the Seahawks? You think they're going to be the same as last year? They're going to be a playoff caliber football team, or do you see them dropping just a little bit?
I see them dropping just a little bit. Now, when we were ranking the Seattle Seahawks team last year, we were giving our team previews, I had them pretty low. I was very harsh on this team, and they exceeded my expectations quite a bit, actually. I think I had them at 5-11, and they went 10-6 and made the playoffs. So all things considered, I would consider 2018 as success. But my thing is that I feel like the Seahawks team is still in like the aftershock period of the old Seahawks regimen, and they just haven't gotten through to the next stage because they're still living in that kind of period. They still think that they've got an opportunity to do something here, and honestly, I don't see it. I got their record at 7-9 this year, which I know based on your stat that they've never had a losing season with Russell Wilson. That how can it be possible? But I got to go through it. No Doug Baldwin, I think, is a big example, a big first impression here. You got no Doug Baldwin, a leader, a presence, their best receiver. Now you got to go replace him with DK Metcalf, who I like, but he fell in the draft. Maybe there's something that we don't know about him that's going to take away. He can do well and even have a really good season, but he can't replace what Doug Baldwin had just in his first year. Tyler Lockett, I put as one of my most underrated receivers in the game. If Russell Wilson uses him to be that target, that deep threat even more this year, it could see that the defense is like, okay, we know what you're going to do, but also could help lead to some more touchdowns. Their offensive line is still pretty weak, in my opinion. Russell Wilson cannot run forever. This guy is going to get older every single year. I know he's still pretty young, but, I mean, how much more time does he have to have a good offensive line? It's kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. Their running back crew is the best thing that I saw last year. It will continue to be the best thing I probably will see this year. Chris Carson's one of the most underrated guys. When he was drafted in the 7th round, he deserves a lot of credit for his 1,000 yards. And Rashad Penny is still very good. Defensively, you move on from the Frank Clark. You replace him with LJ Collier, who I don't think is that great. I think he was a stretch at the 1st round. Could have got him in the 2nd. And then, you've got some other good pieces. Bobby Wagner, of course, one of the best, deserves that 99 rating. KJ Wright's there. You still got some great players on this defense, but I just don't think it is clearly as strong as years past. This team as a whole, I think, is going to face from a really difficult schedule as well. You play the Steelers and the Saints in the 2 of the first 3 weeks. You got the Rams, you got the Browns, Ravens, Falcons, 49ers, Eagles, Vikings, Rams again, 49ers to end the season. These are all playoff caliber teams, if not even more, Super Bowl contenders. So how many wins do you actually think that they are going to get here? They could sneak off a victory here and there and have some impressive games. I remember last year against the Eagles, they had a really great game, or 2 years ago, I should say. So there are other ways for this team to win, and they can win a game here and there against some of the best, but I can't see them going the limits or, in this really difficult NFC being the best of the best. So 7-9 is my record. It might be harsh, but that's what I'm feeling right here.
Once again, we agree. I have the Seattle Seahawks at 7-9, and I was also low on them. And I will admit I was wrong about the 2018 Seahawks, but this isn't 2018. This is 2019. I wasn't as low as you, though. I think I had them about at 7-9 or 8-8. I don't think I had them with a winning record, though, so I will admit that. And I was wrong. Again, I was wrong. But you have to look at how the NFL has changed. First off, the NFC West as a division is going to be way better. Not only are the 49ers a lot more talented and actually have a quarterback this year, but the Cardinals have a quarterback as well, and they are going to be at least more talented. They might not be a very good football team, but they're going to be more talented. And of course, you have the Rams, who just made the Super Bowl. So the Seahawks are going to have to contend in a more difficult division, which makes their division games tougher. Then you look at their schedule, which Dylan brought up. It is the worst one they've had in a long time. It's very difficult. And the thing that I also don't love about it is that a lot of their games are on the road that are difficult, which is not a good thing for the Seahawks, as they're a much better team at home, and we all know this. And typically, when they have a difficult schedule, they can overcome it because a lot of the games are at home. But this year, a lot of them are also on the road, which is not good. From their roster perspective, I believe that their talent level, they actually outperformed their talent level in 2018. And in 2019, really it only got worse from a talent perspective because you're replacing, like you said, Doug Baldwin, a staple of your football team. I understand he was injured last year, so don't comment that. DK Metcalf is replacing him, and they're totally different receivers. Like DK Metcalf is a straight line go receiver, big bodied guy, can go deep and burn a corner. He's not a great route runner. That's why he fell in the draft. He's not Doug Baldwin. Tyler Lockett was great last year, but could he be better than a perfect passer rating? Probably not. I don't think that's actually possible. So I don't know if Tyler Lockett can take that much on his shoulders. And David Moore and Jerron Brown, I'm not really buying as NFL caliber starting receivers. Dwayne Brown's fantastic at left tackle. Rest of the offensive line is not great. I think they're okay. I think what they do well is they run block. Tight end position, Nick Vannett is back, which is nice. They traded for Jacob Hollister. They have Ed Dixon on the roster. I don't think it's a bad position. I don't think it's a great position either. It's just an average one. Russell Wilson is there, of course, who's kind of changed his personality throughout this offseason. I think the whole contracts, the Sierra influence, we're kind of seeing a different Russell Wilson this year. I want to see how that kind of leaks into the NFL this season, and hopefully we can see a little bit more of a charismatic Russell Wilson. I'm hoping for that. Running back position, Chris Carson, Rashad Penny. I think Penny's going to have a bigger part of this offense this year. Maybe Carson is still the starter where he was up there in the NFL in terms of carries in the NFL. I think he was in the top 5. But Rashad Penny, I think, will have his carries from last year and then also take over Mike Davis's. So we're going to see more of a two-headed attack from the running back position this year. He was drafted in the first round, so they got to use him. LJ Collier, I agree. He's not fantastic in terms of what you want from a pass rusher, but I think he's an all-around good defensive end. Now, what I don't see him doing is being like Frank Clark. That's just not going to happen. And that's what they don't have on this D-line. Also, Jarran Reed is suspended. That's not good. So your two best defensive linemen from a season ago are missing for Jarran Reed suspended for 6 games?
6 games, yep.
6 games. So you're going to not have your top 2 defensive linemen from last season for at least 6 games, and one of them for the entire season. He's gone to Kansas City. Jarran Reed, once he comes back, hopefully he makes an impact. But that's 6 games with virtually no pass rush. I mean, LJ Collier is going to have to be huge. And we know how bad Cassius Marsh is. I don't need to talk about how bad he is.
Terrible.
On our lads, he's a starting defensive end.
That's depressing.
I know Ziggy Ansah was also brought in to provide a pass rush, which he potentially could down the line, but he's also a guy that's injured going into the season. So can you count on him early? That's where the losses are going to be difficult to come by, is early in the season, because the pass rush is going to not help this secondary. A secondary that is young, but isn't bad. I feel like it's kind of underrated. Shaquille Griffin had a good season last year. Trey Flowers had a good season last year. Not that Trey Flowers, this one. Tedrick Thompson and Brad McDougall are actually pretty good players, but if they're going to replace the value of Earl Thomas, they're going to have to elevate their game. And then you look at the linebacking group. I think Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright are fantastic as a duo. I'm happy that they re-signed KJ Wright because that was the right move. Shaquem Griffin is as good of a story as that is. Can you really count on him to be a 3-down linebacker? I don't think so. Maybe a sub linebacker. So this defense just up front scares me a ton against the run or against the pass. I understand Pete Carroll's a great coach, but there's only so much coaching that can be done. And then the secondary isn't like top 5 where it can kind of mask the deficiencies of the front 7. And the last thing I want to touch on here is Brian Schottenheimer is not a creative offensive coordinator. He's going to run the ball some more. And with a defense that I don't think is an elite unit, not a top 10 unit, you are going to put Russell Wilson in bad situations. And against good football teams, especially when they're on the road, it's not going to be easy for Russell Wilson on 3rd down to make plays with not a great wide receiver core and not a great offensive line. As good as Russell Wilson is, one player can carry a football team only so far. That's why we both have them at 7 and 9.
Yeah, I mean, in certain cases, you could be let go because of, they have a great defense, but they're not going to have that much of a great impact on their defensive line. So they're going to have to find some creative ways. And as it's set up to be with this difficult NFC, I just don't see it happening.
Another kind of underrated loss is Justin Coleman, who was a big-time playmaker for the back end of their defense last year. They also need to answer who that slot corner is going to be because he played an important piece of this defense. And honestly, for a team that I just look at in 2018 that outdid expectations, I just don't see that happening 2 years in a row in a division that grew stronger against a tough schedule with the lack of talent that we see, with losing your top pass rusher, with your second best pass rusher being suspended. It's just a lot to overcome. The Seahawks, I think they're going in the right direction as a franchise in the way that they have rebuilt and revamped and kind of been able to retool this roster on the fly. And it's been impressive, but it's going to take at least a season where they need another draft class. They need a free agency class to come in here and fill the holes of this roster personally. So that's our 7 and 9 prediction for the Seattle Seahawks in 2019. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, it's Mitch and Dylan. Comment below your opinion. We love to hear it. See you next video. Peace out.
Peace.